Dr. Clem, my good buddy, how are you doing tonight, man?
Todd, you're back. You had a day in the clinical theater. What was it
Oh,
like?
you know what? We had what I call a soft start. So we
Hmm.
didn't start yesterday. I figured, we needed to start on Tuesday, so we did, and we walked all through the patient flow and how everything was going to go. And
Hmm.
it was pretty good. It was very bizarre. I'll be honest. When I pulled that handpiece up for the first time, it's like, where's the water? How come we don't have any water? And then we're scrambling to put water in the tank. It's just all the little things we forgot. But it comes back to you and about how I did an onlay, a crown, and a filling all right next to each other, and I was cleaning out some decay, just dentist
Hmm.
thoughts, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm very blessed to be able to be in this position. It took
Hmm.
so many years to get to this, and so many people want to be in our shoes. And I know in Texas we're a little ahead of California where you're at, but
Yes, you are.
you guys will come around. I know you will, but I love being a dentist. I think it's an
That's good.
amazing, yeah, it's an amazing profession. I'm very proud of our profession. I think it's something that people should strive for and not take advantage of. So anyway, how was your day,
You
brother?
know, being away for a while, it kind of brings back your first love. It's a
Yeah.
restart, and sometimes it will become more fond to you. I know I was in the office today with a new spirit, and
Oh
I
yeah.
was cleaning up the lab, moving all my printers to a new location, opening a new printer. And my dog was following me around the office to kind of go, "What's with you? You got a lot of energy today." So that was kind of cool.
Well, and one of the things really enjoyed the last 6 weeks that we've been off is
Yeah.
throwing out old stuff. And part of throwing out old stuff was refocusing on what I'm going to be more in tuned on when I get back.
Mhm.
So I'm really rejuvenated. I'm gonna start doing root canals again. I haven't done a root canal in
Whoa,
probably 12 years,
go
and I
for it,
started
Todd.
I started pulling all the stuff out. I got all my gutta perchas, and that's right. That's what we use, right? We use gutta percha. Is that what goes in there?
You can do it. You can go for it. It's been around for a long time,
I
particularly
think
if you like trees.
yeah, I got the little pointy things to jam them down in there. I don't know. I'll get it figured out. Anyway, so let's move on to our guest. You want to introduce him? Oh no,
Yeah.
you need to do your thoughts. Sorry.
Well, it kind of goes along with this.
Yeah, yeah.
I've
Do your
watched our
thoughts. I
guest
forgot.
for
Sorry,
a
brother.
while on different social media. I actually today I watched almost an hour interview with him, and I was blessed because he and I kind of come from the same generation in dentistry, if you know what I mean. We've been around it for a while, and we still have passion. And this guy is going to move us tonight. And I think what we need to do is just let him talk and go for it. However, this was a thought today. Let me hold it up to the camera. What do you see?
Tranquility.
Yeah, and this hit me because it's from James Allen, the author of As a Man Thinketh. The more tranquil a man becomes, the greater his success, his influence, and his power for good. He's like a shade-giving tree in a thirsty land or a sheltering rock in the midst of the storm. And that's what we're coming out of now. Can we be tranquil in our hearts as we come out of this with the unknown? And that's something I've wrestled with. But today I had that. I can't tell you why, because my emotions have come in and out. But our guest, as I've watched him, he obviously has energy, but we're going to ask him to give us some tranquil thoughts for our viewing audience. So it's great to have Lane Ochi, Dr. Lane Ochi. And you teach at USC, and you're a USC guy. I loved USC. I went to Loma Linda because I couldn't get it in at USC.
Well, you know what? Better second choice. I applied to Loma Linda and I couldn't get in there, so there you go. Both of you, my hat's off. I just am so, I always tell people I am the ultimate beneficiary of mentorship.
Hmm.
You both are influencers to me. You may not know it, but you are. And I'd like to think that we all touch people in different ways. And my hat's off to you for being educators, being good clinicians, being honest and true to yourself, which ultimately, gives your patients the greatest benefit of your skills and your attention. And really and truly, that's what makes this a glorious profession. You asked me to come on and talk about things, and I kind of was at first taken a little aback because, you guys are so well known and in the digital world, and I'm such an analog guy still.
That's okay.
It's scary. But to what I think you're asking me, what can we look forward to? And I got to tell you, being an old fart, most of us don't remember, at least the young guys, Kimberly Bengalis. And Kimberly Bengalis came out in 1990 and said she had AIDS. And she was dying on national TV a little bit every night. And guess what the CDC said? She was the daughter of a preacher. She never had sex. She never used IV drugs. But her dentist, the CDC said her dentist gave her HIV, and now she was dying of AIDS.
Oh my God.
And even, barrier protection was in place, 1987, I believe? Yeah. 1987. You couldn't buy a box of gloves as a dentist if you're like.
I remember that.
Yeah, you couldn't. They shot up from $5 a box to like $20 overnight, if you could find them. But the point being of this conversation, this story, is that it really didn't matter. Nobody would come to the dentist, right? They were afraid they were going to catch HIV and die of AIDS, like Kimberly Bengalis. And, I just built a 7-operatory, 3,000 square foot office, and nobody was coming. Guess what? I survived. Our profession survived.
Yeah.
And that's something we always have to take in the back of our minds. Black swan events occur, but you know what? People still need our services. And they're really going to reach out afterwards, after this event. They're going to reach out to the caring spirits like you.
Yeah.
Right? Me. And that's what our goal should be. That's when you say tranquility. We have to be calm for our patients. They are going to look to the professional voice.
Right.
And I'd like, to really say that's where I would hope a lot of people put their focus.
Yeah. Lane, one thing I've noticed about you, and as I've heard you through the years, I know you, I've watched you for a while, is that you've got this sense of passion. How have you kept your passion at such an elevated level through this period of time? Because I really think passion for what we crave in our profession is going to be one of the links to get us through this. What's your thought on that?
I think one of the things that we have to do is we have to look beyond just being dentists, right? I just love the fact that you picked up a book and read a thought. We need to be global students. We need to read outside the scope of our profession. We need to study other things, learn a language. As you probably know, I collect and restore art. I'm a passionate fly fisherman. All these little things, right, allow you to maintain different focuses. If you want to say, I just trade one addiction for another, then so be it. But sometimes you need to look outside our profession, to find yourself, your center, and get to that happy place, that special place. I know that sounds, a little bit silly, but I see you nodding your head in agreement.
Yeah. I mean, it's finding the happy place. And I actually think this downtime has helped me reappreciate some of the happy places that I used to have. I remember the first 5 years in dentistry, which I call my first love experience. And we all need to rekindle that.
Oh, no doubt. And you know what? It's kind of fun, this evolution of reviving the practice. You're probably going to think, some people are going to think I'm nuts. All right. I paid my staff, I kept them employed. I drew no checks. Fortunately, I don't need money, which is a great place to be when you practice dentistry. The practice burned through all its cash. So I took out a PPP loan. But the point being is I fully expected my staff to come in and work. And, it's very funny to get some of the hygienists who don't look at, the restorative side of our practice quite like they look at the prevention side of their practice, to actually see what we see, to get the office cleaned and set up and ready and, having a game plan. And at first they came in and they didn't quite get it, but now we're actually having our hygienists call their rescheduled patients themselves. And guess what? Patients love hearing from the hygienist front desk, right? And they want to talk because they're kind of lonely and they're kind of, oh, a new voice. And it's so cool to listen to the hygienists, their conversations. It starts out, well, yeah, we have cleaned the office. We've scrubbed it ourselves from floor to ceiling. Everything is, we've got all these protocols in place. They're excited. They're just as excited about this reopening as I am. What?
Yeah.
So
maybe a new perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe one of the things your practice is actually discovering is maybe your hygienists need to call their patients and set up the next appointments, because obviously they're responding. There's a lot of new normals that are going to come out of this, I think.
Oh, I agree. And I just thought, look, if I were a patient in height, that's, my practice, it's a bit crazy. I mean, I have 10 shares of hygiene a week. I hate checking my patients, quite honestly, but it's just a necessary evil.
Yeah.
But they know, honestly, my hygienist more than they know me, because hopefully my restorative work lasts. And I have to tell you, our front desk may have the verbal skill sets to appoint people, collect money, but making them comfortable about the safety, the protocol that are going to be in place isn't their forte, because they're looking to us, the doctors. They're looking to our hygienists. And when they hear it, when we first start in the second week of March, when we voluntarily shut down hygiene, everyone's going, oh, great, I'm glad you called because I was going to cancel. Now I'm listening to the conversations, and people are booking through, in July, and are grateful that we're calling them. So everything has changed. But I'll tell you, get your hygienist to make those phone calls. They got to have some skin in the game as well, right? And the patients really appreciate, because they're going to ask them the questions about infection control and what we're doing to protect them.
Today we sent out a text to our clients. We use RevenueWell, and Debbie was telling me of how many responses she got of just saying, thanks for reaching out. And it was amazing. It's like people are lonely. And a lot of my clients have been with me for over 30 years, and, they're part of my family, and all of a sudden we can't spend time together. And I think I'm coming back with this renewed appreciation for the people who've trusted me, whether they be new or for years. It's like an honor to be part of their health care providership. I know in some of the studies I've seen, we're up there with the clergy as far as trust factor, and now's the time to use it.
Oh, absolutely. The handful of emergencies I had to come in and see, it's kind of amazing that to have a little bit of time to actually have a conversation with our patients that we've known so long, and you realize, man, I haven't been really talking to you in a long time. And you just kind of feel better, about the relationships that you've culled. And I'm a 3-generation dentist. that is just really kind of frightening at times, but so exciting, right? And it's just, you cannot put a price on relationships. And I think, that's, what we're really about. We're not about dentistry. We're not, and please guys, just don't shut off the video feed right now. We're not about the coolest new digital toy. We are about relationships.
Correct.
And this is the time, if you're going to develop that skill set, to do that. And that is what's going to build your practice. And the coolest thing is, and I don't have to tell, docs who've been around the block, but like attracts like. And so if you can spend the time to get these great relationships going, that, these patients that are going to refer similar like-minded people and friends and family, then you'll have the practice you want rather than the practice you hate.
So true. So true. One thing that happened to me after 2008, which was a little bit of a trauma to my practice, of where I developed new skill sets, which rekindled my love for dentistry again. You're an educator. You've influenced thousands in your career. As an educator now, how do you see this impacting your educational journey?
This is really this is kind of an interesting question.
Yeah.
I'm involved in more things than I need to be involved in. But I'll tell you, the one thing that I find interesting with, younger dentists, they learn much differently than, you and I were taught, right?
I see that. Yeah.
How much did we have to know to graduate as a safe beginner from dental school versus what, young doctors need to know today?
Right.
And it's kind of interesting. Let's just, okay, this is a classic example. All right, so I gave a lecture at the Operative Academy in Chicago this year. It was really, really well received. A bunch of scouts reached out to me, and one of the scouts was, from the Washington AGD, and they also, offered a whole bunch of online free CEs, so people had something to watch, during this downtime. Yeah. And so I said, yeah, cool, I'll do it. It's no big deal. I just gave the lecture. I've got it, memorized. And so not meant to be a humble brag, but, over 1,100 people signed up to watch it live, and they didn't tell me, but they stuck it on the internet, and another 1,000 people have watched it. And I'm thinking, well, this is pretty cool. 2,000 people spent an hour with me, which is kind of nice. And then I reflected that, well, they're on another dental forum. I have the same lecture as a purchasable, CE course, for like $36, and it sold 300 views. So I'm thinking, okay, this is kind of interesting to me because, when you offer something that is not necessarily knowledge, but if at a price point that is free, younger doctors are more inclined to tune in and watch it. And so I think that the new normal is going to be this type of interaction with people. I think more and more. I'll bet dollars to donuts that your viewership has increased significantly over this period of time since we've been locked down. And it's not because we're locked down. It's people are really into this kind of information.
Yeah, it's amazing the reach we had. I know Todd and I have been involved with online platforms for quite a few years, and it's really humbling to know that you can touch the world in a very short period of time. And I've developed friends where I was at events in Europe, and they come up and say hi, and it's like we know each other already. I feel like I know you a little bit because I've watched you online a little bit. You impacted me with one thought, and it's so true because your patients age with you. Because you said this in one of your comments where it was around occlusion, and it was so true. I looked at my patient base recently, and they're all around 55 to 90 now. and as we age with them, we see new things. And I think as a mentor, that when you said that made me look at dentistry a little differently, and it's so true. And people like you are so valuable in our profession because you have experience, you have passion, and you have wisdom. And I want to be tranquil and be successful because, I always ask this question in my lectures. If you placed your best restoration in and you see it on recare in a year and the margin's open, do you lose sleep that night? And almost every hand goes up. Those are the emotions we have to deal with. And I think times like this kind of help mellow me out a little bit and say it's a blessing to go back because you can always fix something if it doesn't go right.
You know what? I don't know if it's just maturity, right? That we're talking about. Is it experience or maybe Ambrose Bierce had it right? Experience is the name I give my mistakes, and trust me, if there's a mistake to be made, I've made it. I still make them. But going back a little bit to the concept of age, our patients age with us. The fun part is not only learning new techniques, in terms of, the digital workflow, but learning better crown and bridge as patients get older. Their needs change. All of a sudden, they're implant patients. All of a sudden they're peri-cross patients, and so you have time if you want to grow and learn to do the procedures. You always have this these moments and plateaus where you can learn to be better. And, those are the guys that are successful. One of the worries, and I know you hear this, right, as an educator, well, I'm afraid to try, the learning curve sounds too hard. Well, the guys who never succeed are the ones that never try. You got to fail. I mean, what Michael Jordan said, I never lost a game. I either won or I learned something.
Well, whenever I hear that, it always makes me smile, because I can understand the fear factor that people have, because maybe their schedules, they're burnt out a little bit, and their schedules are driving them. But hey, we made it through dental school.
Yeah,
you made it through that. You should be able to do anything.
Yeah, speaking of dental school, you're at USC, right? And tell us a little bit about what you're doing there and what you think a typical dental student's thinking at this moment through all of this.
Well, okay, let's go backwards.
Okay.
I'm no longer at SC. When they went to problem-based learning, they eliminated a lot of faculty like myself, and which is fine, because now I teach. I listed my credentials. I mean, I never talk about my CV, but there you reach a certain level of recognition, and the level I reached at SC, I'm very proud of, so I continue to mention it. But I'm at the VA West Los Angeles, the graduate prosthodontic residency, and it's fine. And it's kind of fun because these are the best of the best. They take 2 residents a year, right. And they are as the reason they're selected isn't necessarily their hand skills. The reason they're selected is their passion to learn something.
Yeah. Oh, good. And so what are their thoughts, you think, right now going through all this?
Well, it's kind of a mixed bag. As we know, looking at, the real data that's coming out, that the hot spots are places that have patients or a population with very high comorbidity problems. VA West Los Angeles, I remember the first time I walked in and I wanted to have breakfast, and I walked into the cafeteria, and all I could get for breakfast was greasy eggs, sausage, and bacon. And I'm looking around at all these vets that are all overweight, all diabetic, and I'm going, don't you think you should feed these guys better? And the chef just looked at me and goes, this is all they'll eat. So
right.
And so the sad part is that, right now you don't want to be at the VA because people are suffering badly there. And so the residents aren't going in physically. So everything right now is just being done online lectures, go to meetings. And so they seem to be doing pretty good with that. They're not happy because their personalities are, they want to do clinical dentistry.
Sure. So you guys are so much older than me. Like decades older than me, I guess.
Yes, we are, Todd. We have a lot of wisdom, Toppy.
So you guys lived through the HIV scare and not able to buy gloves, and so if you were at their age right now, your residents, they don't know what the future is going to be coming out in a few months. I mean, the 3 of us can sit here and say, well, my practice is this, and I'm going to be okay, and not really worried. But I think a new graduate coming out has a lot to be concerned about. And so, since you're dealing with these younger dentists, what do you think their highlight's going to be coming through this?
I think, and you can quote me on this because
I will.
I've been giving some this. I think they're going to be doing really well. This is a different crisis to older dentists. When the stock market crashed last time, right? Well, I can't sell my practice. I didn't put enough away. I'm an idiot. So now I got to keep working. So all of a sudden we lost a decade where practitioners were selling their practices. So, young doctors, graduates had practices to buy or even be an associate in.
Right.
I'm going to be honest with you. This working just a couple days a week, maybe for 2 or 3 hours for a dentist that's been in the trenches for, 30, 40 years that financially doesn't have to do this, is going, this is kind of nice. And I've been having a lot of conversations with colleagues my age, and that's the same feeling. Hey, I don't have to work, And so I think there's going to be some really great opportunities for associateships opening up, because guys like me that don't want to sell their practice are going to want to work it as hard. And there are going to be guys who are just, there's just, it's just the juice ain't worth the squeeze anymore if I have to work harder, to do these things. One of the things I think in the species doctor that's unique is we want to be our own bosses. So if it comes down, right, that we're being told what we have to, what we can and can't do, that kind of takes away why we became dentists to a large degree. And I think you'll have guys, that are set in their ways. I'm not mentioning who, but who may want to just say, hey, you know what, guys, it's been a great run. And I really think if young graduates, young doctors think about that and look at that and start making those connections now, I think there's huge benefits for them.
We've had a lot. I'm sorry, James. We've had a lot of people.
A better career. Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah. No.
Speak, Todd, or I'm listening.
yeah, sorry. Oh, no, I just, it's interesting that you say that. We've had many guests, and we talk about all different things. You're the first person to mention, practice acquisition and the possibilities of that. And I think you're right. Now that I think about this, there's going to be a lot of seasoned dentists that are highly skilled, and they're accustomed to the way they've practiced for the number of decades. And when they come out of this, it's not going to be the same. So they would be more likely to actually come in and hand over the practice to somebody. And I think if I was a new dentist watching this right now and take this to heart, you may not need to jump into one of the big box dental offices just because that's the first place to work. Maybe you should do what Dr. Ochi is saying and start looking for the dentist that may want to move down the road. What do you think?
I like I said, this part-time working gig is like really growing on me, and and again,
maybe you're saying right now you want to sell to somebody watching. Hey, anybody out there, you're looking to buy Dr. Ochi's practice, give him a shout out.
There you go. I'll entertain anything, right? It's like, there's a Paul Newman Daytona with my name on it someplace, so it's like But no, I really am serious about this. I think that this is a different crisis, right? This isn't a financial crisis that's going to take a decade to recover from. This is going to take us till the end of the year. I don't think I don't think we're going to see the $20,000-$30,000 vacations that dentists are used to taking with their families. And that's fine. That's so what? You don't take a nice big family vacation this year. But
we're getting at it right now.
Yeah, right. But I really do believe that, again, if you talk to the guy who is a sole proprietor, been in private practice, he's not going to want to play by anyone else's rules. It just takes the fun away. There's no, it was so funny because, my staff heard for the first time I was talking, I guess I'm not going to violate HIPAA if I don't say names. I was talking to two patients, both former governors of our state, and they were touring not only my office, but they went over to Cedars, UCLA. They were looking at hospitals and, just getting a sense to help our current governor, advise him to reopen the state, that, everything seems to be, okay. There's rooms at the hospital, people seem to be doing all the right things, but they want to get us up and running. They want to be as helpful as possible. And I think we are. But at the same time, I think a lot of staff, if we're going to be a little money tight, let's be honest here, our cash flow is going to change. What do staff really prefer? Do they prefer raises or do they prefer more time off? And the honest answer is they really enjoy time off, And so it may be that the other thing that may happen are shared space arrangements.
Yeah.
Okay? I have a 3,000 square foot office. If I want to work 3 days a week, why not share space with somebody.
Sure.
Yeah. Good idea.
In fact, I was having that conversation with my wife. And I've been looking at that for a while now. I've been eyeing some other dentists in town and thinking about sharing space. I've been trying to cut back a half an hour every year for the last 7 years. I'm about at 6 hours a day now, 3 days a week, and my body needs it, but it works better that way. But with that more downtime, we want to optimize and utilize our facilities so we can keep them up to par.
Absolutely. Look, fixed costs are what kill us, right? That's what drives the overhead, our rent, our staff. Most people don't know this. I just happened to do, a podcast with a dear friend, Betty Robbins, who's an attorney.
I know Betty. She was a class ahead of me at Loma Linda.
Yeah, exactly. Betty was was a member of one of my study groups for the longest time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And she was laughing. She goes, "So talk to me about how you practice," which you guys haven't asked. I have a complete fee-for-service, practice. 99.9% collections. But here's the deal: for such an OCD, egocentric dentist like me, I've always practiced with a partner. I have been in 2 partnerships, both hugely successful because we want them to be successful, where, we don't like count the pennies. We're not stepping over dollars to pick up nickels. We do the same thing. We're both, high-end restorative doctors. So, whatever money comes in, all the bills are paid out of the pot. The rent, the salaries, the lab bills, supplies, and we fund, and we have like 5 discriminatory savings vehicles, like safe harbor, pension, profit sharing, 401, you name it, we've got it. And so we're able to run a fixed practice at 52 to 55% overhead, which is really profitable. Sure. And we're able to pay a ton of pre-tax dollars because we recognize that cost controlling overhead is what allows you to be financially successful in this gig. The old adage, the race for financial independence, it rarely goes to the hare. It goes to the rabbit. It rarely goes to the rabbit. It goes to the tortoise. Learning how not to spend more than you earn.
Yeah. So
very good advice, my friend.
Yeah. So we're getting a few comments, but do you have any words of wisdom, the last little thing you can give somebody out there? You have a lot of people that follow you, and I love your wit in your post. You're quite the witty guy. So as you're educating, you're also putting a little sting in some of those posts. They're fun. So.
Well, I'm glad somebody thinks so. I think my takeaway message kind of is always been, look, life isn't fair, right? So don't take it so damn seriously. Right. It's okay to screw up. Guess what? I leave cement margins, okay? I do.
Oh no.
Do I? Oh no. You know what? It happens. And
I've only done that once on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Once on purpose. But you know what? You cannot take yourself that seriously. Okay, life is just too valuable, and it goes back to my original commentary. Be a student of the world. Don't just be a dentist. Okay, right. The more well-rounded you are, right, the more interactive as a person you become with that patient in the chair. There's this entire person attached to that tooth you're looking at. And boy,
exactly.
Isn't it? Some of these people are so wonderful with such wonderful stories. If we just take the time to listen and learn them. And once we do that, there's 2 business models, right? You either develop a relationship for life with a patient. You develop trust and rapport. If you tell them, look, it's time to restore this tooth, they're not going to say why. They're going to say, when should we schedule?
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Or your business model is you get as many people in the door, you do as much dentistry as you can, and you shove them out the door and say, next. You know what? That's too stressful. Waiting for the next reason to fill your plate makes no sense at all. It's always nice to have just a constant flow. And I think one of the things, you've asked me a little earlier, we have to also, besides advice to early dentists, is understand, again, there are phases to our clinical practices, right? For phase 1 is survival. Okay. Phase 2 is growth. And if you do growth well, income, phase 3 comes at a very reasonable time in your career. And then you can enjoy, not only financial success and stability, but it also changes the way you practice dentistry when you don't have to, do numbers to meet your own personal nut. And so, again, this isn't, a race that is won to the sprinter. It's, it's a lifestyle choice that goes to those who plan well.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
That was, you know what? I know this quote applies to our chat this evening. And I heard that coming through. I've read your credentials. I have a lot of respect for you, and I know someone like you doesn't get there without good critical thinking and passion and effort. But the wisdom you pass on behind you is what will create the next generation of dentists. So we're very grateful that you came on, and we're grateful that you're around in this world of ours, because that's what sets the rudder for our profession, and I really admire that.
Well, you know what? The feeling is mutual. This is there is and I know it may sound silly, but you guys know it's true. There's a bromance among educators. I have not met an educator who is in it for their own well-being. It's always about giving something back. And I think if one of the other takeaway lessons from this is there is a great amount of satisfaction that comes from not only being a mentor, but watching those people you mentor become mentors themselves. I think that's for me the greatest happiness in my professional career.
And that's the legacy. So you've already left a legacy, and you're still leaving one.
Thanks.
Well,
thank you,
Dr. Ochi. We appreciate you coming on. You're exactly the epitome of the kind of guests we wanted on here, and you're a great clinician. I love your post. I love the witty. Make them sting a little bit more, just for my own amusement. Will you do that?
Only the digital ones.
Yeah. Oh, you hammer us all the way. Actually, I'm going to tell you one last thing. I love saving tooth structure. I mean, it is my passion to do partial coverage, and I think full coverage crowns are done way too much. So I've really, when you start throwing up slides of prep designs, and even if it's with that that gold stuff, I can't remember all those bevels and stuff like that. But even when you're doing that, I really appreciate somebody else trying to motivate another dentist to do partial coverage. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Well, I go as far as back of where I got my thrills from doing gold foil. So it's still the craft of the trade. And I love the craft of the trade. And I think that's, I've always been about digital platforms in my thinking of where it all starts still with the fundamentals.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we all are in the fundamentals. We just happen to use digital platforms to get there. And that's been my emphasis in everything I do, probably because I'm old. And I still have that gold, partial gold restorations. My senior year, I finished most of my requirements near the end of my junior year. So my senior year, I stuck with Dr. Schnepper and Dr. Baum. You may remember those people.
My father was Dr. Schnepper's lab tech. So,
okay. Yeah. Small world. And I just did
Dr.
quadrant gold
Schnepper
inlays and onlays my senior year.
That is a great dentist name right there, Dr. Schnepper. I love it.
I'll give you one better. I practiced with Everett Payne.
Oh, poor Dr. Payne. That's a lot to overcome. Hey, I will let you go. Both of you know, I have done 2 gold foils in my career. So
good for you, Todd.
Put that.
And those were moments of clarity for you, weren't they?
No,
Yeah, I
it was
mean,
horrible. It was the whole time I'm thinking, how in the world did these people do this? I'm like hammer, 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 hammer. But it looked pretty good. That little
hey,
dot.
you're not done
the...
until you can see your reflection in it, and that's the joy factor.
There you go. I'll go you one better, Todd. You started out saying you found a passion for redoing endo. I think I've done 10 endos in my lifetime, and
Yeah.
so those were associated with the 10 gold foils I did.
Exactly.
That's great.
Dr. Ochi, you're a breath of fresh air. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so
and
much for coming
I apologize about the internet connection for you. That's tough. But you live in a great, beautiful area, so it's not such a bad thing that your internet is a little slow.
Yeah, sorry. Like I said, I live at the very top of a mountain. Basically, I'm the last house before you enter the Angeles National Forest here in
Nice.
Los Angeles. So you either live at the beach or you live in the mountains. Like, since I can't afford the beach, I live in the mountains.
There you
So,
go.
all right.
Well,
Hey,
thank you.
I thank you so much for this invitation. I mean, it's not. I hate to use the word honor, but it's just such a joy and pleasure to speak with like-minded people who care more about the profession and want to leave this profession better than we found it. Thank you so much.
One final comment. We'd like to get you back and talk about occlusion. I've followed your thought process on that, and I'm very similar as I evolved as well. And I think you could really be a benefit to a lot of dentists out there. We'd love to have you back for that one time.
Anytime. Just reach out.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You.
All right. James, what a great interview. He's the guy I followed all the way from Dentaltown. That's where I first met him, and I thought, who is this guy? What is he like trying to teach me? And you were right. I learned a lot of occlusion through a digital platform, even though he didn't like doesn't like us doing that.
You know what I love about the digital platform is we can get down to the 8 microns now, and I'm like OCD on placing where I want my occlusion, but the principles still apply, and just knowing your patients. And I just find that the older I get, the more I can learn, and I'm a fan of learning. I think that's what drives me as an educator, just not knowing it all, because you never will. But if you can pass on the passion for learning, then that keeps recreating you, and you never quit evolving. And that's what I heard this evening. The words of wisdom that will be a focus for us all as we take this challenge of where we are now, of develop new skill sets. Keep your mind on the future. Don't think about tomorrow. Think of the big target, and then you adapt as you go.
What I love about Dr. Ochi, and even though he kind of put a tag on the digital world, he's right though. You and I educate a lot of people in this digital world, and what I don't like to see, especially a new user thinking that the machine can think it better than we can, and they kind of start losing the idea, and that's where occlusion starts to become an issue. And what bothers me more than anything, and I'm sorry to end on a negative note.
Preach it, Todd. You preach it. No, we're going to keep it.
Look at me. I'm getting my glasses all red. Oh, no, they broke.
You're getting a little red. That's good.
I know. I got to calm down. Because, no, it's true. I'll just throw it out there, our CEREC world, sometimes they rely on the machine to calculate things too much. I'm like, you can't have an interference like that. The machine doesn't do that. And so then they'll make it out of occlusion. And I think our passion for dentistry starts with the analog world, and we just happen to do it in a digital platform. And so, anyway, I'm finished. I'm not going to preach anymore.
To me, it's never been about the software. It's always been about understanding what you're doing before you start. And then what I love about digital world is that it gives me more control, and it provides that craft passion I have of why I love gold foils, Todd.
Well, maybe they'll make a big gold block. It may cost about $85,000, but we'll mill out some gold inlays.
All to dream. Actually, it's going to be printed. We will be able to print gold in the future, and it's already happening. They have printers where you can print any material you want. I've already printed a hybrid gold piece, sub piece, and I've printed a partial that it just dropped right in.
Wow.
I like precision, and that's why I like digital. But it's all analog. Yeah.
All right.
We keep going, but you've had a long day, and I think we better sign off. And tomorrow?
Yeah, we've got Jenny. I don't know how to say her name. Is it Apikayan? Is that right? I'm
Yep,
sorry.
Sacramento.
Yeah, sorry.
Really, really gifted dentist and very aesthetic driven. Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Then we've got Mark Fleming from Sarek Doctors coming
that'll
on
be a lot of fun.
Thursday. He's a great guy. He's a big, longtime townie guy. And
I
then,
think I'm going to read this tranquility quote again when he comes on.
Yes, yeah, he will definitely appreciate that. And then we've got Tarun Agarwal, T-Bone. He's coming in on Friday. And then on Sunday, we've got Mike DeTola.
DeTola on Sunday evening.
Can't miss that. All right, let's sign off. Thank you to everybody that watched. Thanks again to
Love
Dr.
you guys.
Ochi. Love you.
Be safe. Keep your heart going forward and think positive thoughts. And remember, you're loved.
Yes, you are.